Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we are playing Sandslash, the pure ground mole Pokemon, I assume. Mole, groundhog, maybe, porcupine hybrid Pokemon thing. Anyway, doesn't matter what it is. We're playing it here today. Now Sandslash has, for base stats, 75 in HP, 100 in attack, 110 in defense, 65 in speed, 55 in special with a crit rate of 12.5%, giving us a total of 405. So a little bit lower amongst the Pokemon we've been playing this week. A little bit lower on the end. We've kind of been sitting around the 450 range for most of the Pokemon this week, but that's okay. Starting set, we have Scratch and Sand Attack. So like I always say, we're going to lose some points here on Brock. On both edge Pokemon, that's an immediate 8 deduction when you see those starting moves. It's not bad though. We do get some decent coverage on Sandslash. It's always interesting that it has Poison Sting on its set, but I guess this thing, I don't know if those are spikes on its back. It's supposed to be kind of like a porcupine. I mean, in that sense, it would probably make sense, but are porcupines poisonous? I don't know. Anyway, it's not the biggest thing. It doesn't really matter, but it learns Poison Sting, so obviously that gives it super effective coverage against grass types. Even though Poison Sting is a terrible move, I will not be using it in this run, but it is a move that it can learn that would do super effective damage against grass types. It's unfortunate. I mean, in this game it does. Poison is super effective against Bug, but for stuff like that, like where Ghost doesn't affect Psychic and stuff like that, it's only Gen 1 exclusives. I don't count those because going forward, obviously I'll have to change that, so it doesn't make sense to have that rule going forward. Now for our learn set, everything that we can learn via TM, not much really in our level up set to really talk about. We do get access to Swords Dance. That's going to be great. Body Slam, Hyper Beam, Submission, Seismic Toss, Earthquake Fissure, Dig, Swift, and Rock Slide. Pretty good moves there. You know, Strength is actually a good move too. If you can learn Body Slam, there's really no point in learning Strength. I think Strength would be good if you needed a normal type move outside of Body Slam. If you couldn't learn Body Slam, Strength would be a good pickup. But for whatever reason, I think any Pokemon that can learn Strength should be able to learn Body Slam. I mean, it only makes sense, right? So that's why it's never seen any use on the channel. Because there's never a Pokemon that can learn Strength without being able to learn Body Slam. At least I don't think. But anyway, that's not really important. Let's hop into Brock and now to mitigate some damage here, we do have access to Sand Attack. One thing to note is, I think if you use Sand Attack more than once, I think you start to, at some point, at like 2 to 3 uses of Sand Attack, you start to hit some diminishing returns. So usually what I do, I think 1 is enough. It gives you it mixes in some misses there to kind of mitigate and avoid some damage. And when it comes to Onix, obviously you're going to have chances to use Sand Attack when it goes for Bide. And Sand Attack's really good here because essentially Onix is just going to start to miss everything. And if it uses Bide, you can lower its accuracy even more. So, I mean, Onix's accuracy is pretty much in the drain at this point. It's not really going to be able to hit us with anything. As you can see, we're still at more than half HP. Goes for Bite again, we're just going to drop its accuracy all the way to the floor. And at this point, it shouldn't be able to hit us anymore. I mean, it's extremely unlikely for it to hit us. It does get a hit in, but it's whatever. It's going to be an easy Brock. You could definitely win that fight consistently, 10 out of 10 times for sure. So that'll give us 25 out of 33 points for Brock. Not bad. We've got Misty coming up. We do have a type advantage, but we also get access to Body Slam. So having access to that strong normal type move that does have the 30% chance of paralysis, it's really great. Like it's crazy how you get no moves before Brock, but like when you have a type disadvantage against Misty, you get Body Slam, which usually helps you out in the most cases. Now, Pokemon like Golem, obviously, they have a little bit of a tough time against Misty because you're 4 times weak to water and you're never going to outspeed the Starmie. So you have to somehow get 2 turns of attacking in and that's not very consistent. Obviously, you have to, or you have to, Misty needs to use Water Gun and not Bubble Beam. If Misty uses Bubble Beam, you're cooked. Now, while you can get access to Body Slam before this fight, Sandslash learns Slash at level 17, which is insane. So Slash is going to 2-hit the Starmie. We can survive a Water Gun and a Bubble Beam, which is really great. It's going to be easy to win that fight there. And obviously, we get access to Dig as well before Surge, so that is an easy fight. 2 gems really quick back to back. So we got perfect scores for those 2 gems, 33 and 29 respectively. Really good stuff coming out from Sandslash after the rough start. But like I say, hey, Tauros had a rough start and it still finished in the S tier. And Tauros doesn't have a crazy base stat total like Mewtwo. It, I believe, was at 450. So, I mean, while it is harder for lower base stat total Pokemon to get into the higher tiers, due to that fact, there aren't any Pokemon that I'm going to be running that have less than the average of all 151. So there's not really any Pokemon that are at a disadvantage per se. You're only at a disadvantage amongst typings, but that's fine. I mean, the real rankings that I care about is like all the Pokemon ranked grouped together, not accounting for typing. I wanted to do the typing just to see who were the best Pokemon in each respective type, but that's not like my main tier list that I focus on. That's what I'll be focusing on at the end. But we have a type advantage, a disadvantage against Erica though. Let's see how it goes. This, I imagine, would be a tough fight. I mean, we have Slash, but that's only doing about half the Tangela, and it has Mega Drain. So we're not going to get that 2-hit range. We go for Body Slam. We do get the Paralysis, but it does not stay paralyzed. So we go for the Slash. We get the Paralysis there, which is probably the only way we were able to get past Tangela. Slash hits Weeping Bell, does almost enough to 1-hit KO, and it misses Razor Leaf, surprisingly enough. Now, I made it all the way to the Gloom, and I was like, what would do enough? I go for Dig. It doesn't do enough to take down the Gloom in 1 hit. So we come back in. I realized once you get to this point, you can get access to Swords Dance. So I'm going to go ahead and set up 2 uses of Swords Dance. Go for Body Slam on the Tangela. And then we're going to go Earthquake and Earthquake to take out the Gloom and Weeping Bell. Earthquake because it's stabbed, so it's going to do more than Body Slam would. But yes, Swords Dance is the answer there. Now into Koga. Now that we have Swords Dance, honestly, I think we kind of just steamroll the game. I don't think there's going to be any more gym leaders that give us issues. So I'd say we may not even need Swords Dance here. Now, what I did was the first Venonat has Sleep Powder and it's a grass type move, so it would likely have gone for it. So I waited until the second Venonat to set up a Swords Dance because it doesn't have any of that. I'm not worried about Psychic or Toxic. I'm not worried about any of that stuff. Probably wouldn't choose Toxic anyway. But it looks like from what the footage shows here, one setup of Swords Dance is all you need. Now, for Sabrina, I don't really think you need Swords Dance. You do get outsped by her Pokemon, but I do decide to go ahead and go for that here, which allows me to outspeed the Kadabra, and it hits me with Psy Wave. So I'm going to go ahead and go Earthquake here. That will one-shot it. And the Alakazam is going to outspeed, but I should be able to tank anything it throws at me and take it down with 1 use of Earthquake. No, we've got Blaine next. We've got Swords Dance and Earthquake. I mean, what's going to stop Sandslash at this point in the game? We set up 1 use of Swords Dance, and then we're just going to sweep his team. Earthquake is going to do more than enough to finish up Blaine and take care of him here. So, Blaine, you're done. Giovanni, you're up next. We do kind of have a type advantage here. Not against Doug Trio and Persian, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and set up Swords Dance on the Doug Trio. I don't want it to go for Sand Attack, but it doesn't. So I'm thinking here 1 setup of Swords Dance probably good, but I go ahead and just for safety measures, I'm going to go ahead and set up 1 more on the Persian. One-shot it. Set up one more on the Nidoqueen just for overkill, just to make sure we one-shot the rest of his Pokemon. Use Earthquake. That's going to be a one-shot on Nidoqueen, one-shot on Nidoking. And I bet you can imagine this is going to be a one-shot on Rhydon as well. And Sandslash has defeated the Pokemon League Challenge. Coming out of that gauntlet, we are still sitting at perfect scores. 37 for Erica, 41 for Koga, 37 for Sabrina, 37 for Blaine, and 45 for Giovanni. So we are perfect in the Pokemon League's challenge except for Brock. However, we have a type disadvantage against Lorelei. So I bet you can imagine we might have an issue here. But the difference here that Sandslash has against all the other Pokemon that struggle against Lorelei, we have access to Swords Dance. We have access to Swords Dance, which allows us to raise our attack significantly. The only thing we have to figure out in this Lorelei battle is where to set up, what Pokemon would be the best to set up on. And as you can see at +4, Vaporeon, no match. That was even a critical hit, so it didn't even calculate the attack boosts, and we still one-shot with a critical hit. So let's hop into Lorelei. Let's see if she will give us trouble or not with Swords Dance on her set. Okay, now I go Body Slam on the Dugong. What I wanted to try and bait out the rest. So I actually do get the rest, which is going to allow me to set up all the way with Swords Dance. And that's what I wanted. I took a little bit of damage, but that's okay. We're going to take out... did I miss there? Yeah, I think I missed. I really didn't even have to go for Rock Slide there. I realized that in retrospect, you didn't need to go for Rock Slide. I think anything will KO any of these Pokemon at this point. I don't think Rock Slide would make the difference here. So just going for Stab Earthquake is going to do more than enough damage. And that gets us by Lorelei on our first attempt. So yeah, manipulating the AI for Dugong to go for Rest allows us to set up all the way with Swords Dance. We're coming to Bruno. And Onix can't really do anything to us. It goes for an X-Defend, but setting up with Swords Dance is still enough to one-hit it. And I think that's all we're going to need for the remainder of Bruno's team. Set up one use of Swords Dance and continue to sweep his team. So, no challenge really thus far in the Elite Four. Despite having the type advantage on Lorelei, Swords Dance makes a huge difference. Now into Agatha. We want to set up Swords Dance, but we want to get this pesky Gengar out of the way first. It does have Mega Drain. It also has a lot of things that are just really annoying. I was thinking that probably the best place to set up is on the Arbok. I'm not too worried about Glare. Really, it probably would be going for it. But also, I don't know, you may not even need to set up Swords Dance here. But yeah, as you see, I do go for it on the Arbok, and it does miss Glare. So one use should be enough to take down the remainder of Agatha's team. It is. So we're going to go into Lance. Now, Hydro Pump is definitely what we're worried about here. We missed the Rock Slide. I was curious how much it would do without a Swords Dance, because obviously I need to determine if I need to go for Swords Dance before I go for Rock Slide or not. And so that told me everything that I needed to know. So we go for Swords Dance here on first turn, and then we go for Rock Slide, and that will be enough to KO the Gyarados. Now, what sucks going forward here, yeah, Dragonair's going to go for the Hyper Beam. I could have actually set up to +6 there because Dragonair had a recharge turn. But honestly, I was thinking it probably wouldn't have made a big deal. And obviously, I missed Rock Slide. It's just, so I go for the Swords Dance setup. That's not enough. I get critical hit by the Aerodactyl, forcing us to reset once more. So we know the strategy. Swords Dance on the Gyarados. Go for the Rock Slide. So long as it hits, we should be fine. Now, Dragonair, we'll go for another Swords Dance. If it goes for Hyper Beam, we can set up to +6, and I do actually make that correction here. So I go for Earthquake once more. We KO the Dragonair. We should be able to KO both Dragonairs with uses of Earthquake, and all we need here is for Rock Slide to hit on both the Aerodactyl and Dragonite. That's kind of our win. I think Body Slam would be okay against the Dragonite. I should have just went for Body Slam. I think Body Slam would have done enough to one-hit KO. I don't know why. Sometimes I don't really think through things all that well when I'm playing, and I always see things in retrospect like, yeah, I could have done that better. Like I could have just went for Body Slam. And Dragonair missed Hyper Beam, and I was like, okay, do I set up or do I just go with +4? Because I can preserve some HP if I just go from here. So I just decided to ignore going for the +6 since it missed Hyper Beam, and I just go with my +4 setup. Now I missed Rock Slide on the Aerodactyl, but that's okay. We knock it out with one hit at +4, and here I should just be going for Body Slam. I don't know. Rock Slide's too inefficient, but that's okay. We're going to get through that. We had a solid strategy to get through Lance. We knew how to kind of work in our Swords Dances to get us through that fight without any real issues. So, perfect across the board for the Elite Four. Good job. Sandslash, it did really good on the Elite Four. Swords Dance makes a big difference. I mean, it can really help when you have type disadvantages because it allows you to do so much more damage than you normally would, which also allows you to not take as much damage as you would if you couldn't one-shot the Pokemon like you can when you have Swords Dance. So fantastic move. So glad that Sandslash gets that on its set. So it's time for the champion now. I don't think we'll have any issues here. Like I said, we have Swords Dance. That's pretty much carrying Sandslash through its run. Great move, just fantastic move. I just want to say something that's kind of unrelated to the video. Prior to being an adult and understanding these games a little bit more, I never used setup moves. I was like, if the move does not do damage, I'm not using it. It's kind of funny because now it's like setup moves are kind of like, if you can get setup moves in a solo challenge, most of the time it's best to just use them. And as you can see, we've got our +6 setup and we are having absolutely no issues getting through this fight. Last 3 Pokemon, we're just going to use Earthquake and we are going to finish up the champion's team with absolutely no problem. That fight was just as easy as the precursor fight right after Giovanni's gym. And just like that, we finished the game with Sandslash at level 61. Now looking at Sandslash bonus points that it gets, 16 points for coverage, -6 for weaknesses, +10 for resistances. We do have that immunity to electric types, +4 for finish level, +3 for base stats. So for the ground type, we're going to get a score of 540 out of 583 for a percentage score of 92.62%. That'll place it into the A tier. Really good finish. Let's calculate and look over for all 151 Pokemon. Sandslash is going to get into 12 base stat bonus points. So that will bump our score just a little bit. So we'll get a score of 549 out of 583 for a percentage score of 94.17%. That will also slot it into the A tier. But as you can take a look at our tier list, it is at the very front of the A tier. So an amazing run for Sandslash. Very proud of how it performed. It did absolutely phenomenal. Now, next up on our list, we've got Zapdos. And I can tell you now, Zapdos is going to be phenomenal. I just know it's an electric flying type and it gets access to Drill Peck. So we know from our Jodreel run that Drill Peck is a phenomenal flying stab move. I mean, it's electric and flying, so it doesn't have to worry about that weakness to ground moves that we would get in Giovanni's gym. And I tell you right now, Zapdos is probably going to be the only electric type that has a good placement in this entire game. I think all the electric types are going to get C tier placements, and that's because I don't think any electric type can get through Giovanni at the level cap. I'm just going to say that right now. Now, I do have a workaround for if you can't get through it at level cap, because if you can't get through it at level cap, obviously all the other fights coming from that after that, or you're going to get point deduction. So I think it's better. I'm going to include this new rule where I can do something like mimic a one-hit KO, a one-hit KO move, use an X accuracy, and just one-hit KO all his Pokemon to get through the fight. But the Pokemon will receive a 0 for that gym leader, just meaning they can't beat it at level cap. And Giovanni is too close to the Elite Four. The level caps are too close. You can't go over Giovanni's level cap because Giovanni is at level 55. Lorelei is at level 56. If you go over the level cap, once you fight the rival on the road leading up to the Pokemon League, you're going to go over the cap and you're going to lose 20 points on Lorelei, potentially lose 20 points on Giovanni until you stop getting so much experience. So I think taking a 0 on Giovanni is the best course of action for electric types, but I have yet to actually run any electric types. I could be wrong. I just think that's how it's going to go because all of his Pokemon that are ground types, no ground type moves, and they're stab. So that's going to do a lot of damage. So, but anyway, it's going to be a minute before we get there. The first electric type that I have on my list is Magneton. Oh, that's coming up probably next week. I think I'll have Magneton and Electrode in all of next week's videos. So, you guys will see how painful that will be. I'm not looking forward to it, but it's coming up soon. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Zapdos next up on the list. Stay tuned for it, and I will see you guys then.